Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear listener, dear viewer, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I welcome you once again to an exciting, invigorating and thought-provoking episode of the Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. I have in the studio Mr. Maje Maje, who is a real estate professional of note. He will introduce himself in greater detail. But let me just ask you at the outset, if you haven't done so already, please, there is a little button there where it says subscribe. Please subscribe to this podcast. We need the support and we need your involvement and your engagement. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Maje Maje, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Ramobe.
Yeah, I think this to kick things off, you just need to introduce yourself in as much detail as possible. Give us a condensed version of your CV.
Okay. My name is Maje Maje. Born and bred in Botswana. Mm-hmm. Got educated through the government education system. Back in the days where we used to have to bring marapo, kong, and all these kind of things to school, and just learn the hard way, So then I eventually, went for higher education in the UK, and fortunately for some odd reason, I chose real estate. But, initially I was, I had won a scholarship to study in MAP, do A-levels and become a chartered accountant.
For those who don't know, that's Maruapula.
Yeah, so to become a chartered accountant, but when I went into class, I found accounting boring. So
Was it boring or the numbers were difficult?
No, the numbers were not, they were not difficult, but it was just boring,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I was given the opportunity to choose a subject. So I went to a library. At that time, they had a very well-resourced library.
Where? In MAPS?
In MAP, yeah. So then I went there and went through the, university books, and then I found real estate very interesting. So I chose real estate, and and it seems to be a perfect meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which institutions of high learning did you go to, and what did you specialize in exactly?
I went to Oxford Brookes University, that is based in Oxford, and I went to do real estate management. And then I came back to Botswana and I started practicing, but I've been enhancing my real estate knowledge. I think even I went as far as, UCT to do commercial, advanced commercial valuation course. Yeah, so that is basically what I've done.
So you did it as a kind of, shall I say, graduate course, or was it postgraduate?
As a graduate course, honors, honors,
okay.
Yes,
you never went to the master's level?
No. I never went to the master's level because, I just feel that master's is basically to go and do research, which, you still have done at junior degree. I think junior degree is very, very critical. But what happens then after that, the most important thing is your practical experience. There are a lot of people who have got masters, this. I'm not discouraging people to do that, but if you don't have practical experience, you become also a liability. So I prefer to learn every day, read about real estate, advancement, changes. So that knowledge, that's the one which I think is more critical after your degree, program. Yeah.
So it's possible to become too academic and not to be very vested on the practical side. In other words, you're overly academically educated.
Yes, and we see a lot of that, especially in the Botswana perspective. There are a lot of people who are highly educated, but on the practical side,
so it's more like they are certificated and not educated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's only that, okay, also we've been led to believe that being educated is when you have got these certificates. Yeah, but whereas education is actually what you've amassed. I mean, the amount of education that is available in our space today is too much. I mean, I can go on, on Google or wherever online, and education is there. Yes, yeah.
And then tell me about the actual nuts and bolts of it, of how you focused on real estate, how you ended up choosing it as an area of economic activity for you.
Definitely, when I got to the UK, as we are learning about real estate, I just got to realize that, or got to understand that real estate is one of the economic, basis. I mean, they mentioned 3 economic activities that you could do. Either you save money and earn interest, or you invest in shares, or you invest in real estate. So then I said, I mean, I like business, so definitely I should just focus on real estate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many fields of real estate. Did you decide on a particular area? For instance, the general categories would be what? Commercial, industrial, or residential?
Yeah, there are a couple. I mean, you could be a sales agent, you could be in valuation, you could be in property management, facilities management. There's advisory aspects. So I chose two areas, valuation and advisory. Okay, valuation is easily understood here. Why? Because a lot of people go and borrow money. So that process is very simple. But the one for advisory is still very difficult for people to understand, because I still get shocked that here transaction of 100 million, 300 million can be done without an advisor like myself, in that transaction. Yes, I mean, we will get maybe an accountant or a lawyer to be involved in the transaction. But in developed markets, such transaction will never happen without an advisor, because you need to be clear that, okay, this deal that I'm getting into is actually a fair and balanced deal. So a guy with valuation background or experience will be able to help you, go through that process, and also knowing how to negotiate, because sometimes we negotiate emotionally, and then we leave money on the table, So, but if I come in, I am experienced in such transactions, I'll be able to save you a lot of money. And I've saved a couple of institutions a lot of money, yes.
Without mentioning them by name, can you give an example?
Yeah, I mean, there was an incident where, a transaction was happening between, I would say a parastatal and a government institution, where when the transaction was closed, and fortunately at the time we had already been appointed as their advisor, but they decided to do it without consulting us. Then when we picked that up, when we looked into the transaction, we found that, okay, the difference was huge. I mean, it was where the transaction was supposed to close at, let's say, 7 million. When we got in, it managed to close at 35 million.
Oh,
yeah, same transaction, yeah.
Yeah. Where was the hidden value?
No, I mean, you found that the people who were negotiating didn't know exactly, I mean, they were not experienced in the space. So they just, yeah.
So you find that a lot of transactions where professionals are not involved, a lot of money is left on the table. In fact, it's thrown away.
Yeah, either it's left on the table or it's lost. Yeah.
Where had it gone wrong? What exactly had gone wrong in that transaction, for instance?
Nothing had gone wrong, but it was just a lack of, experience for both parties involved.
In other words, they undervalued the entire asset.
Yeah, they undervalued the entire asset, because the other one told the other guy, I've got, 7 million left, you know, in my annual budget.
Yes.
Yeah. So then the other one agreed to it. They needed the money. So
Could it be that the other guy was a highly motivated seller and needed money badly?
No, I mean, yes, the other institution needed money badly. But even if you need money badly, you shouldn't leave money on the table, especially when you need it. Yeah. So and a lot of such transactions or situations are there, and we could save a lot of money for institutions. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about Apex. You are the co-founder of Apex.
Yes.
And it's famous for fat cakes and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
How did it all start?
Yeah, I mean, it started some time back, maybe it's around 03. I met with Umesh Luna around, main mall. We chatted by Zambian embassy there. Then, we
Just
agreed.
a chance meeting.
Yes, yeah. So then we went and we had coffee at Riverwalk. That time I was working for Knight Frank. I was one of the consultants who were involved in the Riverwalk, shopping mall. So then we agreed that, we start something. So 04 we started, and, we started just building and then up until where we are today, Yeah.
What were the divisions then when you started, and what are the divisions or sections of the company now?
You'll find that what has happened is that, we still have got the brand Apex Properties, which is the real estate consulting firm, where I'm the co-founder and I'm a shareholder. But then at the same time, my partner has leveraged the brand Apex, and he has started other ventures with the Apex brand, which some I used to be involved, some I'm no longer involved because of the area or where I want to focus, Yes. But in terms of Apex Properties, yes, we are still there.
So I want to know the divisions or the brand or the departments.
We have got Valuation department, we've got Advisory department, which I'm heading, and then we've got the sales department,
I want to hear your version of the fat cake story, how it came about. First explain to the people what's that all is about, and how did it come about?
No, it's a sales slogan. You find that usually in business, you need something which can differentiate you and which can really catch, people. And what we realized was that in Botswana, people, loved fat cakes. So when we blended that slogan, and it came out beautifully. And we used to, even like there used to be expos even at the fairgrounds, we used to have fat cakes, to give to people. So it was, and that also, created a lot of interest around real estate, because a lot of people also, Botswana didn't know that, they could start their own real estate firms. Now, there are a lot of firms, which have been started by other Botswana since we created this buzz, which, it's a positive. And also there are a lot of,
it is a positive,
yeah, Apex graduates who have started now their own firms, and they are very successful.
How do you define an Apex graduate? You mean alumni, people who've worked there?
Yeah, people who have worked there, in Apex, and now they've started.
Yeah, it is a university in a sense.
Yes. No, we really train them very well. Once, I work with somebody, I try to do my best to train them so that they become the best. Because even when they are not working, for us, they can still collaborate with them. And that is how, in the world, organization grow. You bring the best out of your employees so that even tomorrow when they start a competing platform, because competition will always be there. It's either it gets started by your people or it gets started by somebody else. But it's always nice when you see your, people you've trained, people you've worked with, or who have worked for you, competing with you, because they keep you on your toes. You already know that guy. He knows one or two things which, then
which you taught him.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your first real estate venture personally, and how did you go about it?
We found that the first project which we did, which was significant or which really took us off, was we did a project in G North, where we subdivided a farm. That was around 07. And we started, selling plots there. I mean, there were a lot of challenges. We learned a lot, dealing with planning, dealing with, legal matters, dealing with raising finance, because at that time we didn't have money. So you had to raise money with the little that we had. So I learned that you don't really need a lot of money to be able to, to undertake a project. But what you need is a very, very solid project proposal. Yeah, because a solid project proposal, even sometimes you are able to get third-party investors to come in, and also, if the bank or the banker you are working with understand exactly what you're talking about, they're able to come to the party and finance you. Yeah. So that was the first project, and then also we went on to develop office developments, shopping malls. So we've done it all. Yeah. So
let me just drill a bit deeper on the first project. Were there services involved, and who was in charge of those services in terms of roads, sewage, and so on? Was it also yourselves?
I mean, unfortunately at that time, there was no clear guidance on the services. So we just created your own, dirt roads, and yeah, there was no services, and there was also, water utilities. There was issue with them bringing water. Then there was issue with sewerage. There's been a lot of issues in.
So you just buy a plot and then you create a septic tank.
Yeah.
And then what? Yeah. You create your own road.
No. Roads we created, but it was just your dirt roads. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, not properly developed.
Not properly developed. But now, since then, other developers who have come in, they've tried to give different products, but still you find that sometimes you service in your piece of land, but in between, for me to get to that piece of land is still the dirt road. When it rains, it's a mess. It's a mess. Yeah. So. And that, shows that, noviceness of us here, not knowing how development works. Yeah. So
you didn't learn from Mr. Mahang and Pagalan?
You see, okay, Mr. Mahang and Pagalan, it's a private and controlled development. So complete, but in Gaborone North, it's like, it's 100 guys. Yeah, each and everyone pulling. So
it's the Wild West.
Yeah, it's the Wild West. Yeah. So if everyone pulling this way, that way, So unfortunately, it's every man for himself. God for.
So for us all. Yeah. and as we speak, they did now become part of the Greater Gaborone, or is there any likelihood of that happening?
Yeah, it is part of Greater.
In the sense of services.
Not in the sense of services. In terms of. Planning, Yeah. But in terms of services, even now, still not clear what, who can do what and who can't do what, Yeah. So.
But overall, looking back, was it a successful development? Is it a success? The whole project,
Gaborone
North, yes.
I would say yes, to some extent, and also no, to the other extent, because you find that it's successful because people really have got no alternative. That it's take it or leave it type of situation. But you pay a premium as compared to similar type land in Mogobe, where you not pay a huge amount of money. So, but that is because of that shortage of land, which then forces prices to go up.
Yeah. I've heard someone on this show saying that the shortage of land in Botswana is really artificial, because with the small population that we are, there's vast amounts of land. What is your view on that?
It is. Yeah, it's very true. You see, up until we improve bureaucracy, we'll always have got shortage of land, because I don't understand. This is the only country with 2 million people. When you fly into
2.5 at the most.
Yeah, when you fly into Gaborone, you just see open tracts and tracts of land. Then what happens is that land board doesn't want to negotiate fairly with landowners, doesn't want to compensate them well. So then that creates that friction. And then up until that is taken out, we'll always have that shortage of land. And then also what happens is that government wants to be the referee and the player in the land space. You know, they want to allocate land, they want to service land. I mean, they're
not geared for that.
No, yeah, because what happens is in terms of servicing land, there's what we call National Development Plan. So if you're not in that NDP something, that means you're going to have to wait for another 10 years while they're still servicing Maung, Kasani, this.
In other areas.
Yeah, and other areas. Then eventually they try to come here. But then that creates a backlog. I mean, if you look, even myself, I'm still waiting to be allocated a plot of land.
Don't you think government is better off identifying developers, identify property development companies, the Apexes of this world, the Mogobe Incorporators of this world, and allocating them large tracts of land to develop and capacitating them?
That project was piloted in Block 6, and I mean, if you look, it was successful, but it was just now to copy and paste. So
why has it stopped?
It got stopped. Yeah. And no one can really explain why it was stopped. I mean, because once you start something and it works, just copy and paste. Yeah, there's no need to stop that, you know.
I heard HE saying in one of his speeches that we need a reset. Do you think that, because you also mentioned the need to stop bureaucratic thinking, do you think that a reset is feasible, or it's likely to happen in our lifetimes or anytime soon?
I think that requires a huge mindset change, and I don't, at the moment, at the pace at which we are going, I don't see it happening in our lifetime. Yeah,
so you just have to work with it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I believe the opposite. By the way, I think I'm an optimist. I think miracles can still happen.
No, you see, okay, I mean, we could talk of miracles, but sometimes we have to look at realism. And a mindset shift requires a lot, of work. So at the moment, I mean, you find that HE would say something, but then the guys who are supposed to implement or make all these things happen, they just block it. I mean, like there was a simple thing where HE said, we could change use of our masim. Yeah. Like maybe half it will be SIM, half will be, commercial use of some sort. Yeah. Now you go to the authorities. These guys are just blocking, and you say to them, okay, what is the reason?
You show them the speech of the HE, and you show them the policy, but they still don't do it.
Not even speeches. Directives are there. Yeah, all these documents are there. I mean, some of the directives were pronounced long ago. They're still there. But if there's resistance from the people who are...
What would be the reasons for the resistance?
I really don't know.
The worst part is that nobody will tell you.
Yes, and nobody will ever take responsibility.
Responsibility.
The other thing which I always say that is a big challenge here is that there's never anybody responsible. So everybody wants to... People, even a small decision, it requires 8 people. But of all those 8 people, nobody can say, okay, no, actually, I'm responsible for this type of decision. Yes.
Okay. You also said you ventured into malls and shopping malls and other projects. Can you share some of those?
Yeah, we did a shopping mall in development in Mhoditsane, Budiba Shopping Mall. Oh. Yeah, but you find that...
When you say you did it, you mean...
Yeah, we developed it. Yeah.
Okay, you yourselves as Apex?
Yes.
In partnership with...
No, myself and my partner. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we wanted to grow into development, but you find that then after that, now you get stuck. You cannot get another piece of land to continue developing. Unlike let's say in South Africa.
Why can't you?
Because of our land process. Yeah, I mean it's very difficult.
Even when you have a proven track record.
Even when you have a proven track record, yeah. So, but unlike, let's say, because sometimes people talk about South Africa.
Because I had a similar challenge because where I developed a filling station.
Yeah.
And I wanted to replicate.
Yeah, you can't.
I couldn't because I just couldn't find a piece of land. Yeah.
So, but let's say in South Africa, where we usually compare, ourselves to South Africa, there if I started development, I could do 10 developments in different places. And it's very easy because in South Africa to access land, you just need to buy land, bring services. You know, processes are very simple and laid out.
But are you saying it's difficult to buy land privately from some of these farm holders, Massimo owners? Is it hard in the surrounding parts of Gaborone to get land from them directly and buy it?
You can buy it, but then now to convert it into a development, it becomes difficult because land board will refuse, planning will refuse. Then now you need to go to the ministry. You know, it's another process. So by the time you try to do a development, you're 5 years down the line. And the cost of just that project and its relevance, because no one has got. You can imagine if I started one project now, then it's successful, and my funders want to fund me the next one. But now it's taking me 5 years to sort out this. Then by that time, even the funders would have lost their appetite. You see how COVID has changed the landscape fast. So we need to be able to move at that speed where we know that, okay, no, actually things change very, very quickly, you know. We've got waves now, you know.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Now, as a seasoned real estate developer, real estate professional, you know some of the pitfalls to avoid. So some of our viewers are young entrepreneurs starting in the space. So what would you say are the pitfalls that need to be avoided getting into real estate, especially in Botswana?
I think you'll find that the pitfalls to avoid in real estate are similar to the pitfalls to avoid going into entrepreneurship, going into farming, going into any venture really. Because what I've seen is that here, a lot of people never want to learn, to get trained. Actually, when you say training, you should get trained at least for 5 years in an industry and go and then, you know, do something. But everybody, you know, once they graduate, they're already aspiring, they're already talking, no, I want to have this, and, you know, so they don't understand that.
They don't understand the importance of committing themselves to the training.
So up until that is addressed, it's you know, even in real estate, I mean, you know, graduates, they don't want to just go through the drill. They forget that we've been at it for more than 20 years. And you have to also be committed to learn. You know, learn from other markets, read about how developments are done in, you know, in other markets. But the practical side of it, you really need to be trained. You need to be mentored. I mean,
there's no shortcut to mentorship.
No, there's no shortcut. If I want to learn how to develop, I should join Mogobe Incorporated and do the, you know, the dirty work. Then after that, even myself now I can say, okay, no, I'm now Mogobe Incorporated, you know, copy 2, copy 1, or, you know, then you will just replicate that. But so it's very difficult for me to say, okay, no, avoid this. But what I know is that until you've learned about it, I know,
just waste of time.
Get trained, then you know, once you've trained, you've graduated, then go and you know, venture. A lot of guys, they really struggle. They get stressed. Why? Because once you are in the wild west, it's dog eat dog wild, and all these incumbents who are already there, they will make sure that you don't even succeed. No one wants to, you know,
a competitor. Especially if it's not a smart competitor.
You know, exactly.
Let's talk about one aspect of your job, which is valuation. The way I understand it is that it's a separate division from the main apex sort of administrative. You're physically in a different spot. For instance, I was asking for you at Apex headquarters, and I was told you're somewhere fairground.
Yes.
Tell us what. First of all, why did you keep it separate? Number 2, what do you do exactly?
Okay, you'll find that here in our market also we have the struggle where, like now, a lot of entities, they say, okay, no, you cannot. They don't want to deal with somebody who is selling and valuing at the same time. So we needed to separate the branches to say, okay, no, we have got valuation division standing on its own somewhere, and then we have got the sales division, on its own somewhere.
Why don't they want to deal with people under the same roof? Is there ethical issues there?
I mean, some they've said that they've raised that, but you find that it will be maybe applied to Apex, but then it can't be applied to another company. So it's
inconsistent.
It's inconsistency. Yeah.
But you wanted to eliminate the argument altogether.
Yeah.
So you're just physically far apart.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us what you do on an average day. What are the challenges? What does the valuation department do?
Okay. I mean, we value plant and machinery. We value land and buildings, on a daily basis, and we value for, listed entities. We value for, financial year reporting. So these are, and then we value, individual, reports. People going to borrow money from a bank, or, doing top-ups, or, for repossessed properties, But our main, business is usually corporate valuations. We valued hospitals, schools, shopping malls, listed companies. I mean, we value parastatals for financial year reporting, local authorities. So corporate valuations, that is, I mean, our biggest area of, focus. Why? Because, I mean, also you need to graduate from, I mean, I can't be, after 20 years still be valuing low cost, what will graduates do? Yeah. So
you've graduated higher.
So because then, I mean, it shows that, you've developed insight and knowledge and understanding, or growing with the real estate, space. I mean, if it was in other markets, we could maybe even have chosen area of specialization. Yeah, but here, the way the market,
be a generalist.
Yeah.
Because of the size of the market.
Yeah, because of the size of the market.
You mentioned valuation of machinery. What kind of machinery, and how do you go about doing that? Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, plant and equipment. What plant and equipment basically is this, caterpillars, or even small equipment like laptops, computers. There's what we call useful economic life. Basically, is the joy that machine will give you to run your business. So you look at, has it reached this useful economic life? And especially with these machines,
in other words, you factor in depreciation.
Yeah, you factor in depreciation. But there's also what we call, I mean, sometimes you can recondition these, machines to, restore or improve their useful economic life, and then, the valuer has to adjust, or with this improvement and the expected performance, this is now the useful economic life of this machine. But you depreciate mainly using what we call straight line depreciation method. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned valuation of different things, but do you also value virgin land or undeveloped land?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And in this connection, maybe I should ask you about the presidential directive to allow the land which is north of Mamashia to be converted to industrial, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
What impact has that had on the market? Has it actually had any impact?
I mean, I wouldn't say. I think it has had positive impact, because there's definitely shortage of industrial land. I mean, if you look now, the only industrial land which we have, or where we've seen growth, is in a private land in Commerce Park, which is owned by the Roman Catholic. That is where we've seen any industrial land coming out. Apart from that, we haven't had any parcels of land. So definitely there's pressure for that kind of land. And I mean, the values in Mamashia has been going up, because there is a need for that land, and it's on the right location of A1 highway, which is one of the major economic roads to the north. Yeah. So there's been really positive impact, and we really need to relax a lot of these things, especially prime land on major roads. It should should be used, for commercial
But are the
purposes.
land boards responding to these directives positively?
The land boards are still, they're still refusing. I mean, they really give you a hard time. I think, especially the one for Munchudi or for Mamashi, there has been some arguments or fights, even petitions, which were done, I think, by Resisini, and
I've seen it on social media.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
what is the main argument there?
You see, what he's saying is that Botswana should be allowed to use their land in an economical way. Because one of the things which has happened, and it's happening, every day, is that what happens is that land board will come and take your land, rob you of your value completely in a broad daylight. Then what they do, they take my land, they say to you they're going to compensate you at like 12,000 pula per hectare or
Which
something.
is like robbery.
Yeah. But that land, then they allocate it to you. And to you, the following day, you go to the bank and that land is valued at maybe 2 million. Same land. Nothing has changed. I mean, that's all these things. These are the things that these guys are arguing should be prevented. Because we cannot, rob Botswana of their...
And what's the land board's justification, and how can they get away with it?
You find that, okay, for some odd reason, land board has got these other, powers where they just, can just refuse. Yeah, and they will just refuse, and
without valid reasons.
Without valid reasons, and unfortunately, our poor Botswana, they get tired of these fights.
They don't take them to court?
And because they don't have the resources.
And the land board is deep-pocketed, they will drag them there forever.
Yeah, I mean, you find that they don't have resources, they don't have maybe, I don't know, I mean, I know that there's legal aid, I don't know if even that helps them or can it help them. So nobody guides them that, okay, no, actually this is what you're supposed to do. So they eventually give up. And because it usually happens a lot to the poor.
But what can you and me as professionals say to these people before they give up? Is there any prospect of success if they were to take on the fight even through the courts?
There is. There is. I mean, I know that there was one case in Maun, where, I mean, Botswana had a piece of land, Tsimo, and he wanted to do development. And land board refused, and he took them to court and he won. And that is one case also which has changed precedent. Yeah, but you find that then a lot of people also don't know about it. But then also, like I've always said, use experts. You remember I was talking about using an expert
earlier, yes.
Because if you don't know and you're not using an expert, you're already in trouble.
Because from what you're saying, there ought to be some sort of class action where these farmers get together, amass resources, and take on the might of the land board.
Definitely.
I, from what I gather from what you're saying is that if your intention is to do the development, then there's no reason for the land board to take your land to go and give to others, because you can develop it yourself. Am I right? Is that the principle? Yes.
And we've seen where, I mean, individuals who are wealthy, they've been given those permissions. Why should myself, because I don't have the means and resources, I'm not allowed to do that. But whereas at the same time, government says to us we should partner with the developers. I mean, we could partner with these people and develop their land, and they get the real value.
I hope the authorities are listening. Let's talk about advisory. That's another aspect of your job. Is it a totally separate division, and why did you separate it from the rest?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at advisory, it requires also a different mindset and thought process. But it still emanates from, our knowledge of valuation, because if I come and advise you on a transaction, I already know, the ins and outs in terms of, the value aspect, what returns to look at, what cost, all the other things associated with, being able to close the transaction well, without, because sometimes people throw in numbers, which don't make sense, and then you say, but this transaction will not go ahead because no one is going to finance it at this. And where will you get money to finance it? So then we try to calm the guy down so that they understand that no, the transaction needs to be closed. Because that's when I've got this thing of saying that sometimes we add matata runamete. So remove matata hakumoting and be objective. Yeah, focus on the transaction. Yes.
Okay. Now we're in the middle of COVID. We can't even move to other parts of the country presently. And we still have a curfew. It's been going on for months. So how has this impacted A, real estate in Botswana, and B, your business in particular?
I don't think, okay, the only thing which has happened really is that maybe there's been slowness in terms of people who are own individual properties, because some of them have been laid off, because companies just can't afford it. I know that a lot of other companies are still holding back because of this, state of emergency. But once that happens, there's going to be a lot of layoffs, and these affects, individual.
In other words, if the state of emergency is lifted, is that an argument for keeping it on?
No, I wouldn't say it's an argument for keeping it on. I'm just saying that what will happen once it's lifted? So whether it's kept on, because eventually it has to be lifted. It doesn't matter whether it's 2 years, 3 years, whatever period that is still on, but it will eventually, or else even what happens is that everything will collapse. Because if I can't pay you, if I've got 100 employees and my business can't sustain that.
Because we have challenges like that where you have people on the payroll that you can't simply afford to pay them. What do you do?
What do you do?
You can do it for maybe 6 months, 12 months, but not indefinitely.
Because you find that, I was saying to people that even government, when they were trying to subsidize us, they were giving us 1.5.
They were doing half, and then it was only for 2 months or something.
No, it's not even half. 1.5 is...
it's a peanut.
It's peanuts. So if they are putting the price at that, then, but you are expected to pay full, and you are not making the money. So, but in terms of the commercial businesses, there hasn't been really a lot of impact. The economy is still. I think the most affected ones are hotels, restaurants, bases,
hospitality.
Because hospitality in its entirety. But apart from that, they is still. I wouldn't say that the impact is huge. And also, you find that in our market, because the fundamentals still remains the same, we still have got shortage. Yes. So up until we have got maybe a huge supply, then that
oversupply.
That's when you'll see real impact. In other markets where there is, like let's say in South Africa now, a lot of people have moved to work home, and half offices are empty now. People have to rethink how to do that. But here, as much as it's happening, but it's not really.
But what about on the flip side, the COVID dividend? People have been talking about benefits. As sad as the whole thing is, there's been some dividend benefit. Have you experienced that? That's why I'm asking about the impact on your business.
You find that for us, I think maybe because of the nature of business that we do. Valuation right now, as people get challenged, they definitely need valuation. And then corporate side of things, financial reports, they always need to be done. So that hasn't really, affected our business a lot. And then, but when it comes to advisory, definitely, because a lot of guys, have got assets and they want to know how best to deal with them. And we have been educating people on the value of advisory. Yeah, it takes time because sometimes when you look at, let's say maybe 5 years down the line, when we've grown our advisory division, you'll wonder that, okay, no, it happened overnight. No, it takes time, and you have to also believe that, I mean, like, I had to decouple myself from saying, okay, no, I'm no longer going to focus on small valuations. I have to graduate. And that process, it was painful. I mean, where you see that, okay,
because initially you have to starve a little.
Yeah, you have to, yeah. And a lot of people think they can just jump. No. You really need to sacrifice some things. And even with advisory, we're sacrificing, but we're happy it's
paying off.
It's paying off, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Now, this is the part where I really want you to do a little bit of crystal ball. But maybe before I go there, I want you just to explain to the listener why you believe real estate is really the path. Why do you believe that real estate is heads and shoulders above other systems of economic activity?
Okay, I'm gonna speak maybe to the world first, and then to Botswana context.
Yes.
Yeah, you find that real estate generally across the world is where everybody, protect their wealth long term, because even if sometimes you find that there are dips, and then the markets then rebounds, and real estate will still be there, and then you can regain your wealth, because it's one of the 3 investment vehicles I mentioned earlier on, asset classes. It's real estate, shares, and interest. Interest seems to be suffering a lot because every day interest gets dropped. So whether your money, when it's sitting in the bank,
it's just wasting away.
Yes, it's just wasting away. But when your money is sitting, shares in a lot of markets, you find that a lot of wealth has been generated. But what I've seen in real estate in Botswana, a lot of wealth has been generated in real estate in Botswana. There are a number of factors which sometimes we don't look at very clearly. Botswana operates in a unique sense, in the sense that we almost don't have real estate tax. Yeah, that is...
With the exception of transfer duty, I guess.
Yeah, but transfer duty happens when you're doing a transaction. And usually that transaction, you find that already you've profited anyway. So that on its own, but in other markets you find that if I get to my second property, I'm already paying tax, and heavy tax on that property. And then my other 5 properties, but here you can own 100, 200 properties and still not pay tax.
You only pay if you transact.
Yeah, you only pay.
It's like that in most parts of the world, am I right?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, when you own your second property, the tax regime changes, and you pay tax annually on that property.
You're talking in terms of rates, is it?
No, not rates. There's rates. Okay. We're gonna get to rates also.
Yes.
Yeah. There's property tax, which you get taxed annually on your second property or on your third property. But here that is not there. So already you are making profit, huge profits. That is why you find that sometimes these countries like France, they term Botswana as tax heaven, because we still have got these,
advantages.
I can own, undeveloped land. In other markets, you can't hold undeveloped land for nothing. You have to pay tax on it. But here, because I'm not paying tax, I can hold tracts and tracts of land. So there has been a lot of benefit from those who understand real estate. That, okay, I'm not paying tax on none of my properties. I'm not paying tax on when I'm doing land banking. Now, when it comes to rates, that's another...
Define land banking so they can understand.
Okay, land banking basically is where you buy land, tracts and tracts of land, which you will develop in the future. Especially if you
can even hold for 10 years,
yeah,
15
you can.
years.
Yeah, you can also hold for as many, up until it's an opportune time for you to develop that land. Yeah. Then, talking of rates, for more than 10, 15 years, Botswana hasn't done rate assessment. So the city on its own just loses a lot of money for rate collections. I mean, you look at, I just give you like a shopping mall like Airport Junction. Yeah, it's not paying rates.
At the moment?
Yeah. Why? Because when it was developed, I mean, it was at the time when rating was not assessed. Yeah. So there are a lot of all these you know. So sometimes
these advantages.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes when we value, now we'll be sitting with auditors, and you know they want us to input a lot of other costs which don't exist in our market.
I've even had some banks, I won't mention names, putting costs such as management charges. They put in, you know, things like vacancies.
No, but
those they put it.
But unfortunately,
they even put what, taxation. They put all kinds of things.
The other thing which is very unfortunate in Botswana is that, you know, we take a lot of templates from South Africa, and we just want to bring them and try to apply them here. Especially like with, you know, I've seen it when we do valuations. I mean,
some banks just impose.
No, what happens is that then the auditors, I mean, the audit template comes from South Africa. Yeah. Now the auditors in South Africa want to tell you how to value in Botswana, and you say no. And they'll even write in an email that no, I mean in Joburg this is how it's done. Then you say, but
we're not in Joburg.
We are not in Joburg.
It's a different market.
It's a different market. So these are the things that you find that they've definitely, I mean, there's still a lot of positive in our real estate, and I mean, I think it's still one of the best investment vehicles.
Yeah. Now I'm looking 10 years down the line, 15 years. Do you see that situation to be the case?
Like I was saying,
do you think that it's likely to be like that into the future, or there might be drastic changes?
You see, okay, my experience right now, you know, Botswana has got opportunity to really do good things. But our biggest challenge, especially when it comes to, you know, government institutions working and partnering with us or getting advice from us, there's huge resistance. Like almost acrimonious resistance. And you say to them, like, why?
Makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense, And we have, I mean,
we have a word for it called tsele,
yes.
Isn't it? Maybe it's tsele. Who knows?
I've been like president of Real Estate Institute of Botswana before. I mean, I've tried to advise. I've tried to, you know, throw my two tebe, you know, so that, because all these things, if they can be changed, I tell you, the amount of value that will be realized outside, just in real estate, it's huge. We don't even need, and the painful part is that we don't even need any funding from government. We just need to agree that, okay, no, this is how actually we're going to do things, and then we do things that way. So I mean, earlier when you were asking me if we're gonna see this in our lifetime, and I said to you, I mean, at this pace, I don't think so, because I've been through it.
But we mustn't give up, Ramaje.
No, we're not giving up.
Listen, the new generation is coming up.
No.
And with the president talking about resets and so on, maybe things will click all of a sudden.
Okay, you see, I was saying, okay, and let's say of the 100 projects that government wants to do or initiative that they want to do, let's just look at one and do it right. Just tackle one and then replicate it. Then it becomes easy. But now what happens, like, I mean, the president will have good intentions, well-meaning intentions, and which everybody understands. I mean, like the one way I was telling you about change of land use, immediately when it was announced, then now we got another directive from a director saying, no, that's not going to happen. Now, when people now started making noise, you know, it was changed. But you can't be in a yo-yo situation.
The president's word and the cabinet decision should stand.
Yes. So until, you know, the mindset changes, I don't see a lot of. I mean, the value will always be there, but it
will
never
be compressed, it will be suppressed.
Yeah, it will never be realized, especially by those who don't understand the the value of land. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
You have a project, an online magazine project that you whispered in my ear about. Do you want to share with the audience what you're up to there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one person who believes in, there's what we call prop tech, property technologies. It's something which is growing, in the world, across the world. But what happens is that in Botswana, we never develop our own things, which can be used, and where we control our own data, where we can, disseminate information. And when the world wants to know about Botswana, they can go to that
that source.
Yeah, that source. Yeah. And I've been interviewed a lot in just about real estate, and and I've been explaining to people. So I said, okay, what will be the best way of really sharing this information in a more sustainable way? So I found that, okay, if we have a digital platform, so it's called Real Estate Corner Africa. So that is where now we write articles, we share them with users, and we have also a listing space there where if you want to sell your own property, or you're an agent, you can do that. Because what has been happening, like now, we have had maybe 1 or 2 listing portals, but somebody, I mean, the guys, they sit in Australia, the other ones, they sit in South Africa. They're not bothered about our market at all. But this is something which is really necessary, especially even if you want to venture into real estate. I was saying to guys, like now, a lot of people don't even know the processes of going to land board. Yeah. Or okay, if land board does this to you, what should you do?
Yeah. People don't know that.
So that is the kind of information that we are sharing. So we are hoping that by next month we'll be ready, and then we can start making noise around this. I mean, it's one of those projects where that for at least 2-3 years you really need to put your blood and sweat in it.
You heard it here first, dear listener. On Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. Another reason why you must subscribe.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when the magazine launches, the online magazine, you'll pay us a visit to share a bit more on it.
Yeah, definitely. We'll appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to talk a little bit finally about your outlook for your company in terms of where you see it standing 10 years, 15 years down the line in terms of growth, in terms of expansion. I want you to talk to me about this in the context of after Africa, continental trade agreement, trade area, the whole idea of whitening the continent for exploitation by entrepreneurs and by opening up trade barriers, getting rid of trade barriers and so on. Any comment on that?
Okay, like now, I think especially with this Real Estate Corner Africa platform, it now allows us to be able to enter other markets without barriers. Because one of the things which I've seen is that if you're a professional, actually you're in prison. Because if I'm a valuation professional, if I'm a lawyer, if I'm a doctor, I need to get certified somewhere. Yeah. So now, if I want to go and practice in South Africa, as much as I'm an experienced valuer, now they want to certify me there
afresh.
So that makes it difficult for you to expand or grow, as an institution. But with this platform, for us to go into South Africa, it becomes easy. It's just to point it there, and then we are an investor in South Africa, and that's it. So that is how we see our now growth or our penetration into such markets. Yeah. But apart from that, as a professional, it becomes very, very difficult. But there is a massive scope of really building real estate companies, and Botswana is one of the good platforms. But we need to expand into challenging markets like South Africa. I mean, before we even try to go to Nigeria or Burkina, these are very, very active markets, but also those markets also have gone digital, because without digitization, it becomes very difficult to reach a wider, population. I'll just show you like now, because of our disorganization or not serving the customers. You know what they've done here? Now they use Facebook to sell property. Yeah, because they need that medium. Yeah, but in other markets,
Who's they? You mean just the
individuals, estate agents, everybody.
Yeah, well, you have to post on Facebook
who is
to even get tenants.
Yeah, who is selling property. Why? Because we need a digital medium to distribute to the masses. In other markets, those digital mediums are already there. So it becomes easy to know, if I want a property in South Africa, I look at the private property or property, there's a platform which you can look at.
I wonder, as the former president of RIAC or RIB, whether there's a conflict in terms of the act when people sell through Facebook, and there's some implications there.
Yeah, there are implications in terms of if you are acting as an agent, but you are not licensed. But if you have got your own property, you can sell your own property. But you cannot act as an agent if you are not licensed. Because what happens is that people will come and act as your agent.
But I've seen so many on Facebook.
Yeah, you see, the problem, because of how Facebook is uncontrolled and how under-resourced the institutions which are supposed to police.
I've heard somebody describe them as toothless bulldogs. Is that what they are?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that a fair characterization?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, maybe it's their experience with them. But what I would say is that definitely they're under resourced. Yeah, and they are not visible. So people, cannot feel the wrath of the law. So maybe that's why
they say they're toothless bulldogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we need to find ways to give them teeth. In the long run.
Yes.
All right. So as we get ready to part, we come to the end of our conversation. Here's your opportunity, Mr. Maje, to ask me a question.
Okay. I think I just want to ask you, who is Mogobe?
Like my identity.
Yeah, your identity, your everything, because we all, I think we are here for, for a purpose,
Okay.
Yeah. What makes you wake up, and what do you really want to do to contribute to?
I think my identity and my purpose is contained in my name.
Yeah.
My name is Mompoloki, which means when you call my name, you're saying I'm your savior.
Yeah.
Which means you're saying that I'm your servant.
Yeah.
So I think of myself as somebody, even my mother when I was born, saw me as somebody who's going to boloka or save or empower people. Yeah. Which is why my slogan is divided into those four: inspire, empower, energize, and so on. So I think that's the way I want to see it in terms of what my mother intended when he named me. And to some extent, it's a work in progress. And I don't want to be so arrogant as to suggest that I'm succeeding in that mission. But I realize that it is my mission to save, to empower others. So in terms of see myself as an instrument to be used by higher power to give back to the community. I think that's what I am, Mompoloki, a savior of some sort. That's how I want to see it.
Okay.
I hope I've answered the question.
And then Mogobe is...
Mogobe means water. It means somewhere people can come and drink.
Yeah, so you are really saving it.
So I think so. Yeah. But the middle part is Lerumo, which means if you mess with me,
I
can fire back. It's a bullet.
So you can I can see where even back in the days people had vision. This one is I mean, he will shoot, and
you'll save and shoot at the same time. Because sometimes you need to fire to save. Thank you very much for saying that. Now look at that camera over there. There will be a young real estate professional or an aspiring individual. Maybe you can inspire them on real estate and why you believe they should consider it as an investment vehicle.
Yeah, I think you know, to the listeners there, those who are watching this wonderful podcast, you know, real estate is one of the most amazing, you know, profession that you can go into. The most critical thing is that, you know, as Botswana, we don't understand real estate. Why? Because of our background, where we come from. We come from villages, mud huts. Our parents don't, you know, so that knowledge is not there. So now with the advent of more information around real estate, I urge you to, you know, talk to professionals, you know, learn about real estate and learn up until you got the basics right, and then you can do it. Don't rush into making a lot of mistakes, because I have seen a lot of experienced, you know, professionals, whether doctors, lawyers, accountants, you know, trying to dabble in this, you know, industry without learning, and then burning their fingers. So, you know, everybody watching this, you know, please just learn and ask us questions. You know, there is one new, you know, app which has come out, which you know, we'll be starting a podcast on it. It's called you know, Clubhouse. So you just watch this space. We will be sharing a lot of information, having discussions. I think even Mogobe, I will be inviting you there so that we can talk extensively around you know, real estate. I mean, Clubhouse is an exploding application which is used across the world for people to have, you know, discussions, learn about new things, entrepreneurship topics, you know, any topic that is, you know, relevant. So watch this space as we, you know, will be sharing information. And I thank Mogobe for having, you know, started this, you know, podcast. It's a very, very good, you know, initiative, because, you know, platforms like YouTube, where this is broadcast, have been created to allow us to, you know, to share information and to distribute information at almost zero cost. Previously, it was very difficult. You needed a huge studio like, you know, BTV maybe, you know, to be able to share this kind of information. But here now, you know, it's been done. And Mogobe, thank you very much for this opportunity. And to you watching this podcast, I wish you all the best. And you know, we are available. You know, you can talk to us if you need. I
think that's an opportunity for you to share your contact details.
Yeah. My contacts are very simple. And I usually prefer people to reach me at my email address, which is maje@majemaje.com. It's maje@majemaje.com. So you can reach me at that email. It's always on.
What about social media and WhatsApp?
No, I think the email is, you know, it's where I respond better, because I think, you know, an email is more structured and more professional, yeah.
Yes. All right. Let me take this time to thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule. You've been with us for about an hour. Yeah. It's been a very, very valuable time that you've shared with us. We appreciate your coming.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.